Grayson answers Gotham's call. Here's your look at the new McFarlane toys. DC Multiverse, Gotham Knights, Nightwing. Dick Grayson is a natural leader, an optimist, and the most charismatic of the Batman family. He grew up in an unorthodox but loving circus family, so he values close personal bonds. Dick believes for a fight to be worth it, there must be something real to fight for, and that something has always been other people. He was Batman's first protege before becoming a hero in his own right. Dick boasts mastery in acrobatics and is an expert at taking down enemies with his signature dual Escrima Sticks. Delving into the details here on Nightwing in a second. Of course, you already know what we're going to be doing before we start doing that. Going to bring in the ruler, just so you guys can see how tall the figure stands. And looking at this, lining things up with the ruler, it seems that Nightwing from Gotham Knights stands 7¼ inches in height, or 18½ centimeters tall. The beauty of looking at a brand new Nightwing is it also gives me the chance to bring in a previously looked at Nightwing, so we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Plus as well, I never get the chance to really bring in some of these older figures. But this is obviously the original comic Nightwing, compared more to the video game Nightwing. You can see the newer one, of course, goes more the approach of more a modernized take on the character. And then, of course, we can free up a little bit of space. We're going to slide this guy over for a second. And we can bring in the other Gotham Knights figures. Slightly disappointing Batgirl, and a not-so-disappointing Red Hood. We will be looking at, of course, as well, the Robin in an upcoming review. And then, of course, you can see, once we have looked at Robin, we'll have the 4 figures from the Gotham Knight being able to put on display. But yeah, I guess they're scaled accordingly to the way they look in the video games, even though still looking at how good Red Hood is, and a pretty decently acceptable Nightwing, how even more of a reminder of how disappointing Batgirl was. If you guys certainly did want to check out the video of that, it is also available here on this channel for you to watch. In the meantime, let's have a look at the accessories to come included with Nightwing here. Starting first, the figure comes included with a trading card. Trading card, once again, very clearly indicates that this is the figure and not actually taken from the game itself. You can see that he's got one Escrima stick in his hand, the other one he's about to draw from behind his torso. You can also do that here on the figure as well. While this is still looking like the figure, the Batgirl still baffles me. I'm looking again at that card. You know what? Let's just bring that card back in here. Look at this Batgirl and still tell me that that's the figure, unless they heavily saturated and did some post effects to the photo. I mean, even like the boots aren't obviously the color, nor is really like the utility belt. Everything looks more finely finished here on this Batgirl, and clearly wasn't the case when we had a look at the figure. I know it's not even really talking about Nightwing here. Anyways, though, on the back of Nightwing's card, real name is Dick Grayson. And again, a substantial read-up. You can pause for yourself and read if you'd like. And we're going to put that card to the side. Figure also comes included with a display stand. Display stand, again, just the neutral black stand with the DC logo down below. One single peg. You can already guess where that's going to be going. In his hands? No, that's probably one of the worst guesses you probably could have made. It's actually on the bottoms of his feet. Bottoms of his feet. That's where it's going to be going. I'm going to put that also to the side. I'm not to commit too much time looking at that. And then, of course, the figure comes included with not one, but a dual pair of Escrima Sticks. These ones are a little bit different than the one we got included with the original Nightwing. In fact, you know what? Seeing he's here after all, we can grab the ones that are on the back of Nightwing's body, just in case you guys were curious. Are they the same Escrima Sticks? And already you can see big size difference, big thickness difference too. This is when the accessories were properly sized. Now all of a sudden they go these giant, oversized, over-thicked accessories. Thicked, I know, I realize it's not a word, but you get the idea. The Escrima Sticks can fit into either or both of Nightwing's hands. And you're going to want to use like this part as the handle, at least going by at least the images of the card, assuming the card is correct. This part is going to be on top of the Escrima Sticks. Now you can again display the figure with both of them in hand. That will involve, of course, me clipping the other one into his hand, like that. And being the fact also the figure has double bends in the elbows, you can also get a little bit more creative with the way that you're posing the figure. Kind of like that, for example. Or, what you can also do, too, is take said Escrima Sticks, let go, spin the figure around, and like the original one we got before, and most Nightwings also, little hooks on the back of his torso. Take the said Escrima Sticks and just clip them onto the back. I like to clip them so that the handles are facing up because, of course, when he's reaching for them, he's going to be grabbing onto the handle after all. And do the exact same thing with the other side also. Flip this around. Don't know my ups from my downs. There we go. Clip that into place also. I sometimes worry that the plastic that they use for these clips, would be susceptible to breakage. But it doesn't seem to be the case. Like, the plastic is thick enough that I don't have to worry. I don't feel I'm going to worry about the clips actually breaking on me. I suppose repeated pulling this out and clipping it back in place. I'm not going to do that too many times anyways when it comes to displaying this figure on the shelf. I'm going to keep this on. I'm going to keep these on for the time being as we get a closer look at Nightwing. Going to start things off first with this head sculpt. Taking this more to the real approach, it's not a bad-looking Nightwing. You know, he's admittingly a little full in the face, but that's also something I mentioned with Batgirl, too. Paint, what there is of it, is pretty good. I feel like his face is a little on the pale side, but I think at least the parts that are handled cleanly, without mess, without any issues of paint dripping anywhere, like his hair, like his mask, like his eyeballs in the mask, and his lips, all handled pretty good. Still feel like there's probably an opportunity where they could have gone in there and maybe darkened the coloring of the skin or added some contrasting colors to the face or something. But at least what paint there is on there is handled well. Going to check off the box for good paint. As for the rest of the body, there really isn't a whole lot of paint happening here. I mean, if you look at really his body from the neck all the way down, you probably could count on two hands how many places of paint there are. And yeah, I wouldn't want to duplicate that up on two legs. I'm going to count that as one, of course. I mean, he's got a little bit on his feet. His undersoles sort of have an outlining done in white. He's got a stripe of blue there. He's got a little bit of blue on his thighs. A little bit, of course, running down the sides of his arms that really should be able to line up, but they don't really quite because they've kind of put the little stripe right there. And, of course, the main part, the main element of blue has been added here to the top of his torso. Really, all of it, all the rest of it, is just molded black plastic. Effectively, I would say that the molding has been done well. I mean, there's some interesting things, interesting elements going on to him. One thing I would be, if I was to take away anything immediately looking at this figure, spending a little bit of quality time that I have with the figure, my takeaway would be in all this is he looks a little full. He looks a little frumpy. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they've layered on softer plastic. They've done it here. And they've also done it down here as well. And when you essentially take like a plastic figure's body, which works fine here, and it works fine here and here, but then when you take an overlay of softer plastic and basically encase the body with it, and then you rinse and repeat the step up here, I find the resulting of that, at least in my own personal opinion, is it makes Nightwing look a little frumpy. Not to say that he's overweight, but it certainly does make him look a little undefined, so to speak. It also causes a problem because in order for them to leave a gap right here to accommodate the articulation, which of course we will talk about more in a second, they have allotted, I feel, too much space that you have this really standout cutaway in his top torso, where it clearly looks like that's not the same piece as the rest of his body. This also comes down, I feel, way too low. And I understand probably why they've done this is so that they've concealed the bottom half of his torso, like they've covered off his waist, because of course it's supposed to be all like a single suit. But having this lower down like this, you've got as a result of it just this little lip of rubbery plastic. And I don't know long term whether this is going to start to fray, where it's going to curl up a bit, maybe on the sides, maybe the amount of times that you're going to be rotating the figure around. Sometimes this rubbery plastic becomes weak over time, and you start getting a little bit of a curl. And I find even more so here, I feel this is going to be an issue. Maybe not here, but more here. I feel like this is going to be a problem long-term down the road. I mean, like the figure already looks like he's made up of parts and not a seamless body. But again, on top of that, you've got this one section right here. I know I already mentioned it. It just looks like it's a separate piece. And you can even see, like the way I pulled this away, it's a very, very soft plastic that they're using. Positive points, I like the way that they've sculpted the arms. The arms seem also to be a darker color than the rest of his body. It's a bit jarring, like right here on his bicep, that it's a darker color here and it's lighter here. I don't know why they wouldn't have not kept the same darker coloring of black up further up here as well, or unless they kept this more matte so it blends in the rest of his body. Like, again, the Nightwing logo is handled decently enough. It's raised from the rest of his torso. It also carries that over as well onto his back, which I guess is currently hidden by the Escrima Sticks plugged in place. So you know what we'll do is we'll just take them off for right now so you can see what's going on here. This is all raised. I don't mind that. And again, at least the fact that there isn't a lot of paint on this figure, you don't feel like you're looking at sections that feel unfinished. Every bit of territory seems covered by texturing in one way or another. His torso's got, his arms got it. So I don't feel like, even though the figure is lacking a lot in paint, he more than delivers it, I think, in sculpting. But I think there's a lot of unlikable qualities about this section of his body right here, at least for me. Let's look at the articulation on Nightwing now. His head rotates, yes, all the way around. No limitations there at all, really. Head looks up quite a lot, and the head also looks down to about that bit. So if he's looking down at his mid-torso, wondering why this is sticking up a little bit, you can at least do that with his head. Head also looks back and forth this way. Comfortably, you can bring the arms out 90 degrees, even higher actually than 90 degrees. And you can also take the arms, of course, rotate them all the way around. You do that till the cows come home. Figure has a bicep swivel. Figure also has a double hinge on the elbow. So he's like, I wonder what Batman's doing right now. And then, oh, he's up there. I amuse myself sometimes. Figure does have a bicep swivel, double hinge on the elbow. Yeah, the hands covered all that territory already. We already looked at the torso. We'll talk about this again for the articulation. I mean, you know, it does have it where it counts. So, I mean, you can get a good range going for it. But just the trade-off in all of this is you're going to have all this gappage developing right here. Follow my finger all the way around the figure. He's got that there. And he repeats that again on the lower skirting that covers off the waist section. It just looks like a lot of lips of additional plastic over top of one another. Legs split out comfortably at 90 degrees. Not 90 degrees, a full splits. Van Damme splits. Probably one of the best splits around. You can take the legs, bring them forward. You can bring them back. It's a bit of a mild swivel at the top there. Double hinge on the knee. By the way, as well, this figure doesn't have any swivel cuts here on the thigh. I thought there may have been a cut right here, but it looks like they've decided to dismiss the cut on the thigh in favor of the sculpting of the top of his leg. See right here. It would probably be hard to put a line straight through that. So the figure doesn't have any leg swivel, at least in the thigh. As I mentioned, double hinge on the knee. And then for the feet, they go back and forth this way. There's also, of course, the much appreciated ankle pivot and also toe articulation as well. You know, while looking at this Nightwing too, it reminded me a little bit like the Arkham games, specifically. So I guess also, if you wanted to, while not necessarily displaying him, feeling the need to display him with the rest of the Gotham Knights easily, I think you could probably display this guy also with like the Arkham Asylum Batman or Arkham City Batman. You probably display him along with them as well. And again, just to bring in the other figures that we've already had a look at, here he is once again next to Red Hood, not trying to knock over Nightwing in the process. Get his feet slightly more straighter. There we go. And a figure I'm sure I'm probably going to have a little more problems. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. There he is also next to Batgirl. Of the three figures, I think Nightwing is better than Batgirl. Whether I'm not so happy with the way that they've cut the torso up in different parts, and of course the additional lip of plastic that they've got over top of his torso, I still think Nightwing is probably better than Batgirl. Batgirl, I think, is the weakest of the three figures we've already had a look at. Still got to look at Robin. But unless Robin has some real dire problems with him, I think so far I have to admit Batgirl is probably not the best figure of the Gotham Knights figures that we've, again, looked at so far. Probably, I don't think that's going to change at all when we have a look at the upcoming Robin. As with every other video of mine, take my reviews with a grain of salt. Of course, the person that's behind the camera, I'm only basing my opinions on, well, my own opinion. If you think that maybe perhaps the figure was handled well the way that they've layered the torso, replicating the way that the character looks in the game, then that's fine. That's your, again, prerogative. For me, of course, I don't design nor do I produce figures for a living. And I understand maybe, again, that they're probably going to want to reuse the molds that are underneath and just overlay essentially torso shells over top of it. For me, I probably would have maybe addressed the abdomen area instead of actually having it a layer or actually as a separate abdomen joint. I probably would have just gotten rid of it altogether. Sculpted the abdomen as part of his waist, sacrificed the waist articulation, and instead dedicate all the articulation or all the posability in the top of his torso as well. It certainly wouldn't have eliminated the gap that's clearly there on the top of his torso, but I think it would have also streamlined the rest of his body. By putting a layer on top of a layer on top of his waist, I think you're losing a lot of the definition of Nightwing's body. And it does result in him sort of almost looking either like a cosplayer, or it actually kind of makes him look a little frumpy around the mid-torso section. Again, do you disagree with that, or do you agree with it? Let me know down below in the comments section. What do you think? What do you guys think of the Nightwing Gotham Knights, and what would you have done to fix the figure? Or do you think there's nothing wrong with the figure at all? I always like reading your comments down below. And of course, if you guys are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure a couple of things you can do for yourself, of course. First of which, if you are brand new here, nothing better than just to say hello down below in the comment section. I always like to be able to meet new people that are finding this channel, whether it be maybe through this video, or maybe it's a video that have just recently popped up here on this channel. If you are new here, say hello, and I'd like to be able to say hello back and maybe get to meet you as a new viewer. But also, if you are new here, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button down below, making sure, yes, you're turning on the bell notification so you get those friendly reminders. And also, too, at the very end of this video, if you want to play catch-up new viewer of mine, and at the very end of this video, there's also going to be a playlist popping up of DC Multiverse stuff. It's a good way to kind of have everything localized. So if after the end of this video, you want to say, oh, has he done anything else from DC Multiverse? I have done quite a lot of DC Multiverse figure reviews, and they're all going to be popping up at the very end of this video. Feel free to give that a check out. Feel free to give that a gander. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. Of course, we are going to be looking at the Gotham Knights Robin. Yes, his review is going to be coming up shortly after this one. And of course, we are going to be looking at a ton of other DC Multiverse reviews. There's always new stuff popping up on his channel. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Generally 2 videos a day. Unheard of. More to come. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.